right, welcome back. This is our second video for our semester, and this is making a pinch pot tower. So we've basically practiced with our first technique of just making pinch pots. And as I said, pinch pots are important because it gets you to get the feel of clay because you're using primarily just your hands as your tools. So it gets you kind of communicating, figuring out what clay can or cannot do, what happens when it gets too dry, what happens when it gets too wet. More dry is more likely. Now for this, I'm going to introduce you to some tools. Again, we have our clay, a ball of clay. I have what's called a Kemper Pottery Toolkit. I believe you're going to be able to check one of these out. If you come into Columbia, you go to the tool crib, you can check one of these out. Also, that's where you're going to be getting your clay, is you're going to be purchasing it from the tool crib. Again, if you want. You can always pick clay up on your own at Blick or other places, and the same with the Kemper Toolkit. But the clay you're going to pay for either way, but the Kemper Toolkit you can check out. Another simple tool is a fork. You can use this. That's nice to have. This is what's called a serrated scraper. You can check one of those out at the tool crib, or again, you can buy it. It's basically what we call a rib, but it has little teeth on it, used for roughing up your clay. And again, I have a spray bottle. If my piece gets a little too dry, I can spray things down. The other thing that you can use for this process is what's called slip. Slip is basically clay with a lot more water in it. This clay has about 25% water, which makes it nice and plastic. But when you take clay and you keep adding more and more water to it, approximately 50% water, then it falls apart into a slurry or a paste-like consistency, Now to make slip, if you take clay that's completely dried out, like this is completely dried out, and if I put this, and again more than this is just what I have handy, and I put that in water, like so, a little container of water, then that will dissolve into slip in a matter of minutes, okay? Then once I'm done with it and I use it, then I can put the lid back on my jar, and then I can use it from class to class, or I can use it until I run out of slip, which for me is a long time. I have another container here full of slip. This is the one I'm going to use. This is the one I made at Columbia. So there's my slip. All right. If you don't have slip and you don't want to make it, you can just use water. Okay. I just have a jar of water that I just showed you. So here's my pinch pot that I made in making pinch pots. What I'm going to do is I've made another pinch pot. And what we're going to do is make a tower out of pinch pots. You might say, well, what's a tower? Why am I saying making a tower? It's easy to make short little pieces like this. We could sit and make these all day. But when it comes to making pieces that are taller and taller and taller, then you need to really strategize. You need to think about how can I get clay, how can I make it taller, how can I make bigger and more interesting pieces? Well, that technique of doing something like that is by taking smaller pieces of clay and adding them together. We're going to be doing that right now. We're going to be doing that when we work with coils. We're going to be doing that when we work with slabs, which are the other techniques we're going to investigate after this. But for this purpose, I'm going to show you how to score and slip. So I've made another pinch pot, and I'm going to make a tower. And again, you can think about what this tower is going to look like, how tall it is. Now, what's a tower? Well, if we think of a tower, we think of structures that are high. So basically, a tower is a structure that's higher than it is wider. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. All right, so I'm going to take a second pinch pot. All right, I can think about how I want to add it to this pinch pot. I could sit it on here, but then it's going to fall off. And if I start mashing them together, it's still going to come off. So to get these things to stick together, I'm going to do what's called scoring and slipping. Okay, so I'm going to take my serrated rib as one option. I could take my fork, kitchen fork. Again, if you don't want to get a serrated rib or come in and get one, you could just use a kitchen fork. The other option is a pin tool that you would get in your tool kit. I'm just going to use a fork. I'll take it and dip it in my water, or if I wanted to, I could dip it in slip. I'm going to rough up the surface of this piece like so. So roughing it up. I'm increasing the surface area, and I'm also dipping my fork into water. So that's like creating slip on the surface of the piece. So you don't have to have slip, it's just handy to have. Of course, water has a tendency to run all over the piece, and that's why slip is nice, because slip stays where you put it. I'm then going to score and slip the bottom of this piece, like so. All right? Score and slip it. And then I'm going to take these two pieces, and I'm going to mash them together like this. And now they stick together, okay, because that's basically like the glue of slip. Now, if I want to reinforce that, I could mash it together. I could make a little coil and put it around the base. But notice now what I have is I have a structure that's taller than it is wider. Now I can add another pinch pot to that. Now it's up to you what your pinch pot tower looks like and how you put your pinch pots together. You could make 20 of these and stack them up like a little pyramid perhaps, or any number of ways. I mean, I've seen over the years I've been teaching this class, I've seen, well, hundreds of pieces, and I've never seen two that looked alike. Okay, I guarantee you that. Like snowflakes, right? So I'm going to make another pinch pot. I want this one to sit on top of that one, so I want to make sure the rim on this is as big as the rim on the one I'm going to put it on. Okay, there we go. Now let's say my pinch pot's getting too big. I want to make this a little smaller. I'm going to introduce you to another simple technique, and that is paddling the clay or compressing the clay. So let's say the piece has gotten a little too big. What I can do is take a stick, or I have this paddle. I just happen to have it here, and that's why I'm going to show it to you. And I can paddle the piece like this. And what I'm doing is I'm compressing the clay. And as I compress the clay, it makes it smaller. Okay? Do it gently, but again, the piece is getting smaller and smaller. So even if this rim isn't big enough to fit on that rim, I can compress this one and get them to fit eventually. So it's another little technique. Again, you can use a stick, you can use a ruler, you know, you could use your hand, you can use a wooden spoon from your kitchen. Again, a lot of these things that you do with the tools that are normally used with clay that you buy, you can get from your kitchen or somewhere around your house, okay? So, make the rim a little bigger on this. Remember, don't make anything thicker than your thumb. Thicker things are, the heavier they are, and more likely they are to explode in a kiln. Almost there. All right, so I want you to make a tower out of pinch pots. Think about what is a tower. We think of the Eiffel Tower. We think of the Willis Tower here in Chicago. And there are lots of towers probably around the world. There we go, see? And then I'll take this. I can make the rim a little more even so these fit together by tapping it on my wear board, which again is a board covered with canvas. I'll then add some water here with my fork as I rough up the surface of this, and I'll put these together. All right, so there we go. So, assignment number 2, let's call this. Though I might combine this with our first assignment, we'll see. I'm still putting our syllabus together, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so there we go. I can then mash these together. I can use the other side of my fork, like this. Like that, mash them together. Or if you get the tool kit, I do have another tool here. Well, you can use your rib. Inside the tool kit there's a smooth rib, then you can use your rib, smooth out your piece, and put it all together. There we go. So make a tower out of pinch pots. All right? And most importantly, have fun. All right. Thank you, everyone.